I ask you a question? Are you ready to get and keep momentum in your business? I hope so, because it's Penny Elliott here, your host, to having the perfect mix of the woo with the do. If you're ready to create the life that you want through a business designed by you, then tune in. Okay, welcome to the next episode of Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneurs podcast with me, your host, Penny Elliott. This is the show where we match the woo with the do. So it's your perfect mix of mindset and strategy to have fast success in your online business so you can finally live the best life you want. And today we're kicking the podcast off with the Hit Refresh on 2020 Summit. And today I have the amazing, awesome Christina Jandali all the way from Canada. Woo!
Hey!
And so I know Christina very, very well. I would say that she knows me even more because we have spent hours and hours and hours and hours on Zoom working out how to take my business from zero to hero. And Christina is the magic behind a lot of the things that you see online in my business at the moment. We worked one-to-one, and then I've been part of her high-level mastermind and a VIP client maybe for like a year and a half, something like that. And she's actually the driving force behind the content that I was able to write for my book, Get Momentum, because she was the magic behind the 100K in 100 days campaign and challenge. And so Christina is kind of like this melting pot of everything awesome, but her main focus is on how to grow your business through Facebook groups and interaction and building relationships online that last. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Christina, who can give you her formal introduction. But I would just want to say, stay tuned, get a pen and paper out. If you are running, make sure that you go home and re-listen to this so that you can write down all the takeaways, because this is going to be an episode you do not want to forget. Christina.
Wow, thanks for the introduction. I love it. So yes, my name is Christina Jandali. I'm a 7-figure business growth strategist helping online entrepreneurs grow an engaged and profitable Facebook group. And, when I first got started online, trying to figure out what to do and how to start, building an online business, I was rather confused and things happened really slowly for me. And at one point in time, just remember throwing my hands up in the air, figuring, what the heck am I doing? There's got to be a better way. And what was I really missing? And it was about creating connection and community. And from that moment, I realized, wow, I could use a Facebook group to be able to create that connection with my audience, to create raving fans of buyers. And since then, I've been known as the go-to expert when it comes to Facebook groups.
She sure is. And I think one of the big keys behind that is creating relationships and buyers. Often we think we have to go and get dressed up and go to a networking event, but really Christina brings networking to you in your pajamas. If you want to on the couch, you can still make those great relationships and connections through using Facebook groups. And this lady is the proof of the pudding that it can actually happen. I'm not saying she sits there and does it in her pajamas all day long.
Lululemon pants, yeah.
They are just one step up from pajamas. They're acceptable pajama wear at home. Okay, so I guess talking about wearing pajamas and Lululemon pants at home, we've all really relaxed down, and the fact that we can't meet people face to face has meant that you have shone even brighter as a leader in this industry and in this space, as so many people are understanding that you can do business online. You can do business without getting like suited and booted and meeting in coffee shops and face to face. And so with this current environment, I guess hitting refresh on 2020 for you has probably been an upscale of what you've already been doing. But I'd love for you to share with the listeners about what 2020 is going to be like for you for the rest of the year, now that we've got this current new world environment.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, taking a look at 2020, I mean, things have obviously shifted. This is going to be a year to remember. on so many different levels. And never did we expect that we're all going to be on lockdown across the globe, everywhere that we go. And so, something that, that you were talking about as well is that, okay, there's a lot more people realizing, okay, I can do this online. There's a lot of people that are transitioning. So now more than ever, we're seeing a huge influx of people realizing that they can take their gifts, skills, talents, or even their already existing business and transition to be able to do what they can online and do it on a virtual basis. So for us, like in the company, as this pandemic hit, I was really taking a strong stand about not heading into a place of fear, lack, scarcity, and heading into what it's taking away from us, but rather be focused on like, how do we have the opportunity to step up our game with what's going on? How do we have the opportunity to stand out from everyone else in the space? And as more people are obviously flooding to the online space, markets get crowded, like the industry gets crowded. There's, some would say like market saturation as more people are doing it, and it gets noisier. And so now more important than ever, it really is important to stand out. It really is important to it's important to have an opinion and to lead. And I have really started to see a big separation with what's going on in the world and what we've, with this pandemic and where we're headed and how things are. There's a big separation from those that have been keeping quiet and pulling back and those that are stepping up the game. And so coming with my background being in finance and wealth management, I would say that the moment when it comes in the stock market, the moment of mass crisis, the moment where everything feels like it's blowing up is the moment to double down and to buy. And so during this whole experience, as I've been saying to people, it's the time to double down on your marketing. It's the time to double down on what it is that you're putting out there, because you've got people that are paying attention. You've got people that their eyes are watching. You've got people with more time than ever. Some for those moms and working from home and all that stuff might not quite have as much time, but most people, many people, yes, many people have way more time and they're spending a lot more time consuming. So show up rates are through the roof. Ad costs are lower than they've been in years. We're seeing so many different opportunities right now that it's like step on the gas and press play and move as fast as that you can to really double down on what it is that you're doing, because you have and it's not about, I don't want to speak into it about taking advantage of, negative news or taking advantage of negative pieces, but it's about really taking a look at, this is the opportunity where wealth is created, right? What we're going through, even what we've seen in the stock market, the markets have already recovered, right? And there was this big blow up that everyone thought the world was falling apart. And so we're going to see a lot of opportunity in the online space over the next year, 2 years that we may not have ever seen or may never see again in our lifetime, in that opportunity that comes from this. So it's like double down on your marketing, get out there and stand out there in a big way, be a leader and have an opinion, and choose what it is that you're going to focus on. And so through all of this, we've really doubled down on calling people forward and pulling people up to get out of their head and get out of their own way, so that they have the opportunity to explosive growth. And sales are through the roof, engagements through the roof. And yes, on the flip side, let's be real, behind the scenes there's also defaults and things that are coming up as a result of what's going on in the world. But from my experience, that top line growth and revenue is significantly outweighs any of the negative pieces that are coming in. And I'm also privy to the fact that everyone's business is different. And if you have, there's certainly businesses of brick and mortar businesses or in-person businesses of restaurants and daycares and so on that have certainly been impacted. But what I'm referring to is those that have online business that can market and sell their services and programs, products online.
Amazing. Yeah. So the big key takeout there is not to go into fear and scarcity, and actually flip it on its head and double down and shine brightly like the leader that you are. And I don't think that we need to have a COVID situation for you to feel like that all the time. I think this just really highlights the fact that you should be doing this no matter what the situation, because without shining brightly and being seen, no one's going to be able to buy from you, so you actually have to be seen so that people can come to you, right?
Yeah, the world doesn't know your name. They can't buy from you.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. And I love the fact that you were honest and open about the fact that, yes, your revenue has really increased. And, you said you've had like some of the greatest, really high revenue months in your business over this time. But you also said, yes, let's not discount the fact that there have been defaults, right? And so I want this podcast, and as always, to be really open and honest and transparent with all of you listening and watching, is that does happen. No one just keeps growing. Sales doesn't keep going like this. It never has. I've been in it for 20 years now. There is always some drop off, but if you focus on the drop off, then you're using energy and losing time on focusing on that, where you could be doubling down on your marketing, as Christina said, and shining brightly and attracting more people in. And I'll never forget something that you said to me about Frank Kern's membership that you were part of. And he said he never, ever focuses on the people leaving or retaining them. He only ever focuses on bringing more people in, more people in, more people in, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. And I've never forgotten you telling me that, because too many, often I see with clients and even in myself and my friends online, is that they're worried about like keeping these people and then finding a few more and then, and now I've got 20 and that's what my number is, instead of just the Frank Kern method of like, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up, because people will jump, people will leave, right? Their circumstances will always change at home, and you can't control that at all.
That's, it's so true. And I think it's, important when you have those numbers, it's knowing like what your percentage of attrition or percentage of people leaving is. And as long as it was within that normal range of what you would expect, then yes, 100% focus on the top line, because what we focus on grows. If we're focusing on unsubscribes, if we're focusing on lack of sales, if we're focusing on people leaving, we're focusing on all those negative things, we're just going to create more of what it is that we don't have. And plus it feels pretty lousy, right? You don't want to be sitting there focusing on all the things that aren't working on your behalf. And I mean, that's just a huge shift in your focus and mindset that opens the doors to new possibilities. So I remember I used to get so frustrated even with unsubscribes to be looking like, oh no, like, and now I celebrate them. I'm like, goodbye, see you later. Obviously I'm not the right fit. You're better off leaving than staying with me. And that's part of standing out and being the leader that you get to be too, is you're going to rub people the wrong way. People are going to love you. And then there's going to be people that are, that don't resonate with you, don't connect with you, don't like the way that you show up. And so what? It creates space for more of the people that you are most aligned to. So yeah, focus on what it is that you do have control over, what it is that you do get to create, and what it is that you actually want.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. So I guess if you could go back to the day before lockdown, when I'm not sure when the news hit in Canada, but I clearly remember the day here, and it was surreal. What would you have bought or changed in your business or your life before that day?
Stocked up on toilet paper.
Considering it was a chest, it's a lung thing, I'm really still quite blown away by toilet paper. It wasn't a diarrhea stomach bug that was going around the world.
No, I know. Really in taking a look back, and I was actually traveling. I had hosted at a client retreat, and then I was at a mastermind. My husband had what he thought was pneumonia. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it was, who knows? But he was, they said he had pneumonia, and he was home with the kids. And so I actually flew home and came home early. And then it was shortly thereafter that borders were closed, that there was full lockdown. And, I think that in looking back from, I think in a lot of ways, there's a lot of blessings that have come from this. I've had the opportunity to hear from, clients that were on the brink of divorce that stayed together as a result of COVID. Other people who, may have not been the right fit of being together and finally decided to make the move to split. To like in our own family, just really having a lot more connection and family time between my husband and the kids, and being able to spend more time together, which has opened up a lot of, without having the hustle and the bustle of activities to get to in school and all the things that we're always moving. I just think it's created so much space for people to just really take an honest look at their life, what is working, what isn't working, and to be able to make better choices and to be able to create better connections. And I don't know if there's anything that I would change right before, but look, in retrospect, looking down, I would have piled a lot more money into the stock market. I would have piled way more money into ads, even though we were doubling up on our marketing budget. We would have put way more money in ads, and we probably would have built, a greater sales team to really be ready to step into support. And I think, again, from that growth space, but I don't think, I really had the opportunity to look at it in retrospect. It's always great to be able to take a look back at what it was that we would change. But I just think that let's take a look at, and I know that a lot of people lost lives, and I, have a heart for those people. And I know many, clients of mine and colleagues that have been affected. And my heart absolutely goes out to them. But I also think that we've had the opportunity to really be able to bring people together more than ever and create so much more connection. And how powerful is that? Because never have we been on the scape of really having everyone come together across the globe and from a more of a united front. And I think that it's created a lot stronger relationships, even with people that you may not see in person. Suddenly now we're doing virtual happy hours with friends and spending time. Like, there's been so much more connection. I think let's honor the fact that it's created a lot more connection. And it's also been the point at which where the teeter-tottering stopped. And it's like, okay, you get to choose which path, because I think what's happened with COVID as well is it's unearthed a lot of things that have been beneath the surface that's been stewing, that's been simmering there. And it's given the opportunity for it to express itself, which has created change for some positive, for some negative, or, maybe a negative through to becoming, shifting into the positive of what gets to create on the outcome. So don't know if I would actually change anything beforehand, but hands down, I would have poured in a pile more money into the stock market and into marketing and sales budget for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the stock market. I think I lost about 30% off my KiwiSaver, my pension fund. And then I thought, oh gosh, that's quite a lot. And I was like, oh, well, I've got at least another 25 years for it to come back up. And it's already back up, 8 weeks later. And I thought, that's really dumb. That was really dumb. There was the bear market for that sort of like minimum. And so, yeah, it's on the to-do list to invest some for Josh as well. But anyway, interesting about the ad space as well. I've definitely seen ad costs drop on this side of the, of this side of the world as well. And I guess that lesson just highlights a greater fact that I guess we need to see these opportunities and trust ourselves that it's going to come better. Mm-hmm. You and your husband and all your friends know what happens in a bear market is going to come better, right? But still, even knowing that, it was hard for you to go all in, right? And I think that's one thing that everyone can take away from this, is that you need to go all in always. And know that the results are going to come, and just, I guess it's how long you can sit and hold, right?
Yeah, jump in, plug your nose, close your eyes, and
okay. So, and on this podcast, I really want to cut through all the BS and like be really open and honest with everyone and transparent, because I think there's so much fluff out in the online world about like, oh, launch this and you can buy yourself 20 cars. And so what barrier have you had in business? What's the one thing that's really been like in business and you've had to like sit down and say, Christina, that's BS. Let's move on and find a way out of it?
I think, really there's building a business is like, there's no greater personal development, because I think there's barrier after barrier of things that get to come up. And I would even venture to say, rather than barriers, like a detour, there's many detours that we get to choose. Like, are we going to like take the detour and continue on? Or are we just going to stop and we're going to give up? And I think that the biggest shift for me of barriers is when it stops caring about the opinion of other people, stop caring about what it meant to stop needing to look good, have it all figured out, have it all put together, put on a good front, and just get rid of all of the expectations of that, and just like get rid of all the pressure, the expectations of that, and just lead from a place of like where it's being called to. And who cares, right? Who cares if there's a flop launch? I remember actually when I was, so my signature program, the Leading a Kick-Ass Facebook group program, I had done,
good, by the way.
Thanks. The first round of the program, I had a different name for it, and I had only sold 2 spots. I'm like, I'm a loser. This sucks. I'm never like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, I'm gonna offer these people a refund. So I offered them a refund, and they both said, no, I don't want a refund. I want your help. I'm like seriously, now I have like, this sucks. Now I got to figure something out. I'm like, okay, just give me some time. Let me regroup. I got to figure this out. Okay. Might take me like a month or 2 months, but I'll let me figure something out. So went back to the drawing board. I'm like, why wasn't this selling? Why are people not buying? And so I just repackaged it, changed the name of it, and also thought like, why don't I use what I know on how to sell with actually selling the program, not just teaching it inside the program. And so I relaunched it, and I did $5,000 in sales. And so I was like, whoa, okay, 5,000 really wasn't a big number for me at the time because I was selling private coaching. So $5,000 monetarily wise wasn't a huge win per se, but I had 20 people that said yes. And I was like, that to me was such a big breakthrough of having like volume, like felt like volume to me. 20 people was a big, rather than onesies, twosies. It was like, okay, there's 20 people that said yes to work with me and paid me money. Like, okay, this is a big deal. And then from really sticking with it, had I not decided to stick with it and repackage it, had those people not taken a refund, I would have made my mission, which was now about them, bigger than my fear. Instead, it was like, okay, now it's about them and I got to figure it out. So the next time I relaunched, I did 55,000 in sales. The next time I did 85,000. And then after that, like we're talking about, it's never always like this, it's never forever moving up. We have to have these lessons in between. My launch after that did 45,000. So I went from 85,000 to 45,000. Again, I went through the whole thing of, I'm a loser. Maybe this program's done. Maybe nobody wants it anymore. Maybe nobody wants to talk about Facebook groups anymore. Maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Maybe I need to create something new. This whole conversation again. And it was like, okay, no, I'm going to go back to it. Let's take a look. What needs to get tweaked? Let's go and do it again. And then that next launch was over 6 figures, and they've continued to be, above that level. And I think that the barriers that show up are all the stories that we tell ourselves when the outward results don't appear like we want them to be. And when we start saying universal things like everybody thinks this, or nobody wants this, or nobody can afford this, we get into these universal stories, which are just complete BS and keep us in the illusion that we're stuck, keep us in the illusion that we're not moving forward. But instead of when we get to shift that and take a look at the perspective, okay, this is just a detour and there's a lesson I need to learn. If I don't get the lesson, the detour is going to keep showing up. So I better get the lesson, and then I can keep moving forward. But if you think that there's never going to be a lesson and that you're just going to get result after result after result, you're setting yourself up for the greatest disappointment, for the greatest failures, because failures only happen when you quit. And when I look at people, I've been, in the industry for 5 years, which isn't a huge amount of time, but over the 5 years, when I look at the people that started with me and that I began, when I first started programs with, and that I was learning with other students, the colleagues of mine, how few of them are still standing today because they quit, because they gave up, because something showed up and then they decided that they'd had enough. And knowing that they're quitting, often like that story is quitting 3 feet from gold, where there was miners and they had there was in the gold rush and they were doing mining, and he stopped, he sold all the equipment. Someone that bought his equipment hired a specialist to find out that he was only 3 feet from gold. And people do that so frequently. So yes, you're going to feel like giving up. Yes, you're going to have lots of lessons. Yes, you're going to have all these barriers, but guess what? It's what happens on the other side of it, and how you get to grow as a person to get to the other side.
Amazing. And I really want to highlight the fact that in the first round, when you launched it, you got 2 people and you felt like you're a loser. Then you went back to the drawing board and you were like, right, okay. And you got 20 people in and it was $5,000. And you thought, yes, this is awesome. Then the next point at which you felt like you were a loser was when you made $45,000 in sales. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So as the number on the scales is just a number to determine whether you feel skinny or not, it's the same in business, right? It's just a number. And yeah, that number helps put a roof over your head and like helps you go forward and backwards. But I really want you to think about that. Like when Christina sold, sold $5,000, she was like, yeah, this is awesome. You know, I've gone from 2 people to 20 people. I'm winning. And then when she sold $45,000 in a launch, if she'd gone from 5,000 to 45,000, that would have been great. But because she had such a big one and then went backwards, it didn't feel good at all. Yet it was still so far ahead from the first 2 that you sold. Right?
Yeah,
so exactly. That's another way that you can really call BS on yourself and be like, well, hang on a moment. How did my gratitude go from being so excited from 5,000 to being like really pissed off at 45,000, right?
Oh yes, and it just and I love it because it just keeps happening, right? Your bar continues to rise and as you go through. So yes, that's such a great perspective. Love it.
Yeah. So I think you've pretty much answered this already, but what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in the online space? I'm quite interested to hear what you think, actually. You are.
Yes. So, I mean, I think that it's twofold. Connection is currency, I believe. And I think connection online is like hands down the cornerstone of business beyond that. So we'll just put that aside because that's really important. But when I think legacy is like what really gets to be left behind, what really lands and stays with people beyond the time of you being here. So my big vision is to help 1,000 people become millionaires. And when I say millionaires, to me, it's not just about revenue because it's like, okay, I know plenty of people who, friends, colleagues that have 7-figure businesses that really don't have much left after to show for it, right?
We both know people like that.
Yes. And I even remember a friend of mine, he went to an event and there was someone on stage talking about how they created a 7-figure business and it slipped how, there was $900 and something thousand in ad cost for creating that 7-figure business. So I think that for me, it's like taking a stand against, it's not just the marketing numbers. And I know we like to look at the marketing numbers and they make us feel good and our top line revenue of what it is that we get to create and all that stuff. But what's more important to that is really about creating a net worth. It's about creating wealth. And I remember I was sitting down, it was actually a mastermind I was in, and Jim Fortin was a guest at the mastermind. He was having us go through this values exercise. And one of my top values was wealth. And Jim said to me, he said, what about money? Like, why wealth? Why not money? And I said, money's not important. Because money is just money. It comes in, it goes out. Like, what's money? Doesn't like that is no stand. But wealth, on the other hand, it's your state of being. It's your way of being. It's what the experience that you get to create. It's what gives you that freedom. It gives you that lifestyle. It gives you that legacy. It gives you all the things that you get to create. And the only, even though that's part of that state of being, it's really about your net worth and what you're pulling together. Because I don't care if you have great revenue and then everything, there's no profit left. Like, whoop-de-doo to you, right? Like, and that's part of the experience. I've been through those months and years, so I get it. But what is it that you get to create when you really truly create financial freedom, where you really do feel taken care of, when you really do feel like there's always enough, where you don't make decisions based on money, where you feel like you're in charge, you're the leader of your financial situation, and that you really get to create a lifestyle that's really meant and built around that feeling, that of that state of being of wealth. To me, that matters so much. And so I think that it's a conversation that's not had enough in the online space because everyone's into the flashy numbers and the top line revenue. And so to me, it's like, really, when I say creating 1,000 millionaires, it's not about the income. It's really about creating that net worth and really having that, having true wealth.
Amazing. That's interesting. Because I think for what I see, the legacy you're leaving is the connections and the relationships online. And that's quite beautiful that you said that wealth and the net worth is the end result of that. And not just the big flashy numbers. And I've got 20 cars, parked in a huge garage, all on tick, which I probably only own the first front wheel of each one of them. Don't be fooled by what you see online, people. It's all about creating that net worth. And I love that. What a legacy. 1,000 of them.
1,000. I know.
You get your butt moving, girl. So if you'd like to be one of those 1,000, well, actually 999, because obviously I'm going to be number one. How do people get in touch with you?
So best place to find me is you can find me on Facebook at Deliver Your Genius, or Instagram, Christina at Christina.Jandelli. And like we were talking about, connection is such a key piece of that. And I think connection with your relationships, connection with your clients, connection with your community, connection with your finances, right? Like, it really is like that connection piece. And the number one way to create connection with your ideal clients and your potential clients online is through a Facebook group. So I am going to share a link for you guys if you want to get started with your Facebook group, or you want to add more members to your Facebook group, a checklist that shows you how to get started and how to get those first or next 1,000 Facebook group members inside your group. So you guys can pick that up.
Yeah, and we'll pop that link in the show notes down below. It is fantastic. Christina has been a guest expert in the Get Momentum Mastermind, and all the ladies are following the checklist, and they're all doing amazing. I'll have to give you an update of that later once they've finished with the checklist, but it is extensive and really actionable. Everything that Christina shares isn't hypothetical. It's actually what she's done to get to where she is. And so therefore you can just follow it. Don't try and deviate, just follow it, and it works. It's very magic. It's surprising when you follow someone else's footsteps who's done all the trial and error, and they just give you the fast track. So make sure you download it. Make sure you get in touch with it. Christina gives and gives and gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. Like, she literally, if you follow her on Facebook, it feels like she lives in your kitchen and talks to you every breakfast, listening to all of her amazing masterclasses and tidbits and this training and that training. You seriously get so much value. It's unbelievable. I don't know how you can give so much, but you do, and consistently for years and years and years. So you can go and binge a lot of her stuff on her Facebook page as well. So as a last soundbite, we always ask all the guests, what is your favorite one-liner that you give yourself as a pep talk to get momentum in your business each day?
So good. So I think I'm gonna still two. I'm a little bit of a rule breaker. I'm like, okay, I have to pick one. But two things that usually get me out of my own way is, one is done is better than perfect. I'm telling you, that mantra has like saved my behind in so many different ways, and it just allows you to be in service and to move forward. So done is better than perfect. And the other one is seek to understand versus seek to be understood. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, it's about seeking to understand your ideal clients, about your understanding your audience. It's also seeking to understand whenever you feel triggered or something's not working, or maybe it's even a result. You've done a launch, you've done something and you're frustrated and you're trying to prove a point, or there's something where you feel like you need to, that you're in the game of needing to be right on something. It's the very moment where you need to stop. And you need to get curious, and you need to ask questions and really come from a place of seek to understand versus seek to be understood. And man, that is such a game changer, because it really doesn't have anything to do with you. Let's just be real here. You're building a business that has nothing to do with you. It's about the people that you get to serve and who you get to become along the way. So I will leave you with that.
Love it. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all your insights. Thank you for being you and sharing and sharing and sharing. It's incredible to have you on the podcast and part of the Hit Refresh for 2020 Summit. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Make sure that you hit the show notes and grab that free download as well. Just follow it. It works. You'll get another 1,000 people in your Facebook group within a few weeks. Go for it. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, what an amazing episode. Thanks for tuning in. And if you loved the woo with the do and want to dive deeper into how you too can get and keep momentum in your business, then please join us at pennyelliottgroup.com/consistent clients for the live training this month. It's going to be super juicy, as I'm giving you access to the only 3 daily habits and mindset tweaks you need to have consistent clients in your business forevermore. Come and join us.